This episode was recorded October 13th, 2025. A Dorchester County councilman now setting his sights on a higher office. I'm sitting down with Jay Byars, who's looking to replace Nancy Mace in SC1. We talk about infrastructure, political bridge building in Washington, and who's got the best dad joke. I'm Nick Reagan, and this is We the Palmetto. We talked to Low Country voters. Trump was in true campaign form. Voting is officially underway. Joe Biden spoke here in the heart of downtown.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
I've got Dorchester County Councilman Jay Byars with me here. Now, he is looking for a new job as the representative to Congress for South Carolina's 1st Congressional District. That's currently Nancy Mace's seat, but she's running for governor. First off, thanks for coming in. Thanks for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to it.
All right, so I scoured your website to get to know the backstory a little bit better.
Yep.
Been on council for 14 years-ish now.
A little over 14 and a half.
A little over 14. Here are the notes I made.
Sure.
You noted that you're a woodworker, a recreational pilot, a businessman, an avid bird and elk hunter. Yeah. I'm sure I'm missing some stuff, but where do you hunt elk? I mean, certainly not around here.
Not around here, because those got hunted out around here in the 1600s. No,
Yeah.
I go out to Montana and Wyoming
Okay.
for that, and I love it. It's beautiful.
Wow, good. I'm from South Dakota. There are elk there, but
Sure.
you can't hunt them. But I also lived in Montana as well, so I was like, okay, there's like 5 or 6 states you can hunt elk. You must be going to one of those. So Montana, Wyoming, I love that. Good deal. I mean, when was the last time you went out to go hunting?
It was last year. And so I've gone out the last couple of years. I've gone bird hunting out there with my dad in South Dakota and in Montana. But then we've gone elk hunting in Wyoming with a buddy of mine and Montana as well.
Yeah, nice. It's mostly pheasants up in South Dakota that I think people travel for. Is that what you were doing?
That's right. Yeah, I've got bird dogs, and they had to figure out that pheasants run and the quail around here just sit tight, and those pheasants would leave them, and they had no idea where they were going. So it was a learning experience for them.
Oh, good deal. I mean, it's certainly an exciting time. Definitely one of the biggest tourist things that people do in South Dakota if it's not Mount Rushmore. So good deal. Let's talk about your time on council, though, because you've been there for more than a decade now. Yeah. I mean, you're kind of always sort of the spearhead of a lot of different initiatives, but what would you say is your biggest achievement as a county council person?
Ooh. You know, when we started off, when I first got elected in 2010 and then started serving in 2011, one of the reasons I decided to serve is we really just didn't have great community resources and assets in Summerville in Dorchester County. You had to go to Mount Pleasant or James Island to do nice things. And so the biggest thing that I feel very proud about working with the community and with our council is just getting the parks and libraries referendums passed and building brand new county parks and libraries at home, 10 minutes from our house. The Ashley River Park is an award-winning park. That's something I'm pretty proud of. We just spent some time at the library this weekend. I mean, so we've built 3 brand new county parks in the last 5 years that never existed before, 2 brand new county libraries, but then also the transportation sales tax that we got passed. We now have our first permanent conservation funding as well as new transportation funding. So all of those things, you know, not only was I part of, I really feel like I helped lead and spearhead, and that's just making our community a better place to live, and that's really what this is about.
Yeah, I mean, people love parks, right? I mean, I certainly do anyways, and libraries as well. So on your website, you mentioned that you have a mission. I'm going to read this mission. It might not be verbatim, but I think it'll get us close. So the mission that I wrote down is to protect our way of life, restore trust in leadership, and stand up to the liberal overreach threatening our future. Just broadly speaking, what does that mean should you go to Congress?
You know, right now I think we're pretty divided as a country. I mean, you can see that everywhere. And I've got friends on both sides of the aisle. I've got friends who are liberals. I've got friends who are conservatives. I'm a conservative. I think we got to be able to start talking to each other again. There's just a lot of – it's easy to trash someone on social media. It's easy really just to not have a conversation. And one of the things at grad school at Georgia, I was one of the few conservatives in my program, and I debated with my friends and very good friends of mine who think very differently from me. But we always had great conversations, and then we'd go grab pizza and a beer afterwards, you know. And we've got to be able to get back to that at the local side. I think we've got a portion in this country right now. There is a segment of this country that wants to tear itself apart. They really just want to tear itself apart. And I would say that's more the Marxist side of things. That's a concern of mine. And I think there are people who want to replace the family and the church, what has always been our role and our values, with government control. And I'm adamantly opposed to that. I do believe that government has a function. As you can tell on county council, I think building parks, libraries, giving people opportunities to improve their lives, but not to run their lives. And I think that's going to be a big difference. So that's something that I'm really going to work towards in Congress, just taking the same things that we've done here on the local level. And when I talk about protecting the low country, I talk about conservation and infrastructure. What's the biggest thing that drives people crazy around here? It's traffic. It's absolutely driving people bonkers. It drives me bonkers. And you look back at why is that? The State General Assembly for the last 40 years has not adequately funded roads in South Carolina. That's been a big issue. If you go to North Carolina, their fuel tax is 40.7 cents a gallon. South Carolina is 28.75. All you have to do is drive across the county line or the state line in North Carolina or Georgia. You see immediately you're in a state that actually builds roads and they take care of roads. We have not done that for decades. So we're behind. And then we've had someone we haven't had anybody in the congressional seat who truly has focused on the low country, the infrastructure needs, the conservation needs that we need. I want to make sure that we do that so that we protect our way of life, so that we, as we grow in a way that we can manage.
Yeah, well, let's come back to infrastructure because that's a big one that I think is such a practical issue that should be such a bipartisan effort to fix. And I want to get your thoughts on that. But since you mentioned this sort of demeanor that we're seeing, particularly in national politics right now, I mean, what's your take on our current representation? It seems like Nancy Mace is pretty aggressive on social media about her political opponents, even people in her own party. I mean, is that how things get done, or does that kind of representation need to change?
I think right now we have representation. Nancy does things very differently than I do. I think we have someone who is adept at burning bridges to get results or conceived results or perceived results. I am a bridge builder. I mean, going back and looking at county council, you don't build the Ashley River Park, you don't build the things that we've done, the transportation sales tax, without building bridges. At county council, I can make a couple of phone calls, get votes in line. We can get everybody on board, and we can make miracles happen. And I think that you work together as a team, not only within your council, in your community, and as well as with other counties. We work well with everyone. You build bridges to get results. That's what I do. Right now, the national politics, I'm not about the drama. I'm not about going up there and trying to embarrass someone. I'm going to work with anybody who will help make our life better. That's what our job is. Our job is to go up there and to make our life better, not to go up there for just social media clips.
So we shouldn't expect you to threaten to step outside with another lawmaker, for example? I mean, you're not going to fight anybody in Capitol Hill?
Not planning on it, no. I think we can get that job. You can get a whole lot more done over a plate of barbecue than you can with threats of stepping outside to go fight a lawmaker, which is not going to happen.
Listen, you'll get more results from me if you threaten me with barbecues. So,
amen to that.
I'm all about it. All right, let's circle back to transportation now because this is an issue that I cannot stand. It takes me an hour, sometimes an hour and a half to get to work because I live in Dorchester County.
Okay.
So I don't know, maybe that's biased of me to say,
it's a fair statement.
And it is an issue that everybody talks about. I'm kind of looking for somebody to have a bold plan to tell me what some transformational change here. But talk to me about your plan for addressing infrastructure, acknowledging that, yes, from the national level, there's different levers to pull than, say, a county or even a state government here.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, so transportation issues, one, they've gotten much worse since COVID because we've had a whole lot of people move here that's really just exacerbated an already difficult issue. So you've got to have local funding, which Dorchester County we've got, Berkeley County passed. Charleston County did not pass their sales tax referendum, which is a huge issue for all of us, not just for Charleston County. But then the state has to do their part as well, and then the national. So we've got major roads, especially the interstates and your major state roads, that need to make sure that we're dialed in on the federal level to go and bring those dollars home. We're sending a whole lot of money up to D.C., and I don't believe we've been fighting enough to be able to bring that money back home. And if that money's going to Oklahoma or North Dakota because we're not willing to make that fight, I'm going to go up there and I'm going to be very proactive to go. And if the mayor calls and says, I need help with the seawall, I need help with this interstate project, or Berlin G. Myers tying into the interstate, I'm going to go fight to make sure we get that done, because this region not only is important for District 1, this region drives the economy of the state. We've got to, the port, we drive South Carolina's economy as well. So it's not only just important for us, it's important for the state as well.
I'm really waiting for somebody to sit on this couch and say something crazy like, I want to see a Disney World people mover moving people from Somerville to Charleston, but I don't, not yet.
We've got a bus rapid transit that COG's working on. The issue with that is for it to truly work, you've got to have population densities in the right places.
Right.
Geographically, we just don't, and you're not going to get enough people out of their vehicles around here. I mean, it's just like their car is their horse. They're going to ride their horse to work, because unless you're going, from Goose Creek and you are on a 12-hour shift at MUSC that you can't leave, then it doesn't make sense, because you need to run to the doctor, you need to run to the store and do other things. So the problem for us is it really just, we don't have the density to make it make economic sense.
Yeah. Well, what is your top issue? I mean, we've talked about transportation and bringing sort of civility back to politics, but what's your top issue, and what do you feel is your strongest suit, if that makes sense?
Yeah, no. I mean, so we've kind of already touched on it a little bit. I mean, as far as when I talk about, I think about America First and Low Country always. That's one of the things that we're talking about. The America First top issue is we've got to take care of the future for our young people. I mean, so you look at immigration, whether it's legal or illegal. We've got a lot of people here on work visas. We've got a lot of people here illegally. And I'm in the mortgage business. For 20 years, I've watched incomes for our borrowers locally, especially our young professional borrowers, flat to stagnant, but prices have skyrocketed. Why is that? Well, flat to stagnant because you've got people we're bringing in people to work and take jobs from our young kids. And then they're also going to have to live somewhere. So they're taking up housing. So you get into, it's just economics and supply and demand 101. People have to live somewhere, which means there's a lot more pressure on the available supply, which means prices go up. So we're really, from a standpoint, we've got to start looking out for our young people. That's one thing. On the Low Country side, it's about conservation and infrastructure, which is stuff that I've been working on for 15 years. And the thing about being on Dorchester County Council, I tell people all the time, my two biggest frustrations on County Council: the General Assembly of South Carolina, because they haven't adequately funded roads, and we're still not doing that, and the federal government. And the federal government we need to be bringing money back home, but we also need to be doing better with permitting. Berlin G. Myers Parkway in Somerville, very specific example. 20 years ago, it was a $50 million road. It took 20 years to get the permitting through the Army Corps of Engineers. Then it turned into a $150 million road. How much time did we lose in Dorchester County sitting in traffic, time that we weren't with our kids at their baseball practice or what have you? Not to mention we paid $100 million more for the road because permitting took so long. We need to streamline the permitting, and we need a congressperson who's focused on that. If someone calls and said, I need help with the Corps, I'm calling someone at the Corps and we'll go sit down with them. We got to get those things done. And we just haven't had that. So those are the things I'm really going to laser focus on.
It sounds a lot like the story with like the Mark Clark Extension Project in Charleston, where it just, dragged on for 20 plus years or however long it was. And, I think that project is now killed officially, but we'll see if it comes back.
We'll see what Charleston County Council decides to do with that.
Never dies.
That's right.
Okay. You mentioned that Washington has a spine problem, and you say you want to go up there, drain the swamp, fix the budget issues. People use this term, drain the swamp, quite regularly. Yeah. What do you mean by you want to drain the swamp, and how far does that go? Yeah,
no, that's a great question. So, you've got a federal bureaucracy that has become extremely bloated. The federal government has gotten off track as to what their constitutional mission is. And I'll give you a specific example. I used to be a high school and middle school science teacher. So when George Bush and Congress passed the No Child Left Behind Act, that sounded great. They always make an act that sounds great. Oh, we're not going to leave anybody behind. But at the end of the day, what it did as a teacher at that time, it did not make my job better. It did not make the education for my kids better. It just put more work on me to try to document things. So, for instance, we all of a sudden had to, turn in lesson plans. My principal would be like, all right, you got to turn in lesson plans 2 weeks ahead of time. And I got to know what you're teaching on Tuesday 2 weeks from now. I'm like, I don't know what my kids learned on the Monday previous to that. So that's going to be that's going to drive what I'm going to teach on that Tuesday. And so I joked with him. I was like, look, man, I really, if you want lesson plans, I'm going to turn them in, but it's not going to really be what we're teaching. So I'd write down teaching science, teaching science, teaching science. And then just to make sure he was paying attention, I'd say, eating chocolate and watching Star Wars, just to see if he was just checking behind me, and having a good time with it. But the federal government, we don't need a Department of Education. To get back to the point that I was trying to make, there's no reason for that. The Department of Education at a federal level makes no difference in the classroom day to day. We should take that money, we should save that money, start paying down the debt, but also push it back to the classrooms. You got a bunch of people that sit in cubicles in Atlanta or other places that are sitting there working for the DOE and just basically doing a bunch of things that don't make a difference in the classroom for that child. Put the money in the child, pay teachers better. If I was actually able to make a good living at it, I'd still be in the classroom. Unfortunately, we wanted to be able to let my wife stay home, and $35,000 a year in Charleston at that time, one income, I ain't getting it done with kids, so I had to do something else. But get into, things that the federal government should be doing. When I'm talking about draining the swamp, we need to start cutting things like that out. Focus on infrastructure. I do firmly believe in, public lands, national parks. I spend a lot of time out west. Thank God for Teddy Roosevelt, because otherwise we wouldn't be protecting, the future. I mean, it'd be golf courses and condos everywhere, and our kids would never be able to get out and experience the things that I think make America who we are.
Yeah, no, I mean, Star Wars and chocolate for a science class sounds like a good idea to me, though maybe not as productive as folks want it to be. Talk to me a little bit about, so you mentioned on the website again that you're in favor of term limits.
Yeah.
What does that look like?
Yeah.
And we get a lot of people that come in and they say, we support term limits, politicians should be term limited, but they go to Congress and a bill is never introduced. Would you introduce a bill to limit how many years somebody can serve in Washington?
Absolutely. I think, this is my 14th year, 15th year on county council, and government does not move fast. So, I mean, after, being here and fighting the fight that we've been fighting to get things done, I do believe in term limits, especially at the federal level, 12 years. I don't think 8 years is enough for you to really gain seniority and be able to get some things done. I think it takes time, but I do think 12 years would get rid of career politicians, and it would give you as a representative enough time to go up there and accomplish an agenda that benefited your district and your constituency that you promised you were going to do. 8 years just I don't think would do it, but I absolutely would file a bill the first day as doing a 12-year term limit for Congress, and that gives congressmen 6 terms. That gives senators 2 terms, and that really takes, the president's already limited to 2 terms at 8 years. So if you give everybody in Congress and the Senate 12 years, they can get an agenda done. But then we don't have people there for 40 or 50 years, because you're also denying young people with ideas the chance to move up. Because politics, whether you like it or not, you got to be able to get a lot of money to get into this game and be able to raise that money. And, everyday people can't do that. And it's supposed to be about a government for the people and by the people, not by a few people.
I don't know what the average age of a person in Congress is right now, but the last time I looked, it was like 50, 60, something like that.
Yeah.
And I contrast that to, our founding fathers who were in their 30s and 40s when they're fighting the Revolutionary War. Then when they're in Congress, they were all very young. Granted, lifespans were much shorter then, but at the same
53,
time,
I'd have been an old man back then, right?
But at the same time, if you say, well, a 35-year-old found the country, then clearly they've got some good ideas, I guess. I don't know.
And you've got constitutional limits on what age you can serve in these offices, right?
Exactly.
Like the minimum age. I think term limits will take care of the maximum age issue, because when you got folks up there at 90, at 90, I promise you, I want to be hopefully fishing with my great grandkids or something. I do not want to be trying to figure out what a bill says in Washington, D.C.
Neither do I. And it also kind of, I'm thinking about this, it's not necessarily term limits, but the age question. We saw over the weekend that former President Biden is receiving treatment for cancer. And if he had won the election, he would be the president right now, receiving treatment for cancer. And it's just, anyways, it's all very interesting, I suppose.
Sure.
Let's talk about some other controversial issues here. You're pretty strong about ending foreign aid. How far does that go? Are we ending foreign aid for areas of conflict, like Ukraine and Israel, or are we ending foreign aid for sort of the social programs through like USAID and such?
Really more USAID. I mean, for instance, I think what the president and Secretary Besson are doing in Argentina this week to try to make sure that we've got a government there that can win elections, that can be an ally in our hemisphere. I think those things are important for our longevity and our long-term security. But when you've got USAID out there giving grants for social programs in Ghana and things that really have nothing to do with our national security, we need to end all of that. I do believe we have a place Israel has a right to defend itself. Hopefully the president has actually gotten that war to end so that they can rebuild themselves. But I think we have a place in the world for sure, but we've got to be a lot more strategic about it. If it's not going to take care of Americans' national security and our direct interests, we're going to have to start cutting that. We can't afford to keep giving money out to the world at $37 trillion in debt. I'm thinking about my daughters at Clemson. I'm thinking about all of their friends and their generation, and they're going to be inheriting that mess. We've got to clean that up now, and we got to start now.
Are you an audit the Fed kind of guy?
Ooh, being in the mortgage banking industry, I mean, you could get into, is the Fed really necessary? I mean, because I think right now the Fed's being political with interest rates. I've thought for over 2 years that we were too high on interest. They were late to hit the interest rates back in 2021. They should have raised them earlier because then we would have gone up to 5 or 6% instead of up to 7.5 and 8. They were late then, and they were wrong, and they know that now. They're late now, coming back down. You've got people that the math doesn't math for young families trying to buy their first house, trying to buy a car. You see credit card delinquencies are going up because we're late. And the Fed, I think it's supposed to be a nonpartisan entity, but I think unfortunately politics just infuses itself in everything and everybody in D.C. So I think the Fed probably could use some restructuring at a minimum.
I want to see the gold in Fort Knox. That's my big.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of folks out there who have. I mean, it's kind of a conspiracy theory thing, but at the same time, like if it's there, let's see it. I guess.
I think the last time America probably saw that gold was in the James Bond movie Goldfinger.
Yeah, I think
I'm not sure we've seen it since then.
I think you're right about that. A good deal. So. Again, I feel like since you have such a background in finance and fiscal conservative, all of that, you are not in support of a budget that runs a deficit. But we also acknowledge that there are times where governments, or you can debate this, I suppose, there are times where governments need to run deficits for certain issues, a big natural disaster or a major war or something. What's your position on whether or not we should be passing a budget that has a deficit in it? And also, I mean, we're in a shutdown right now, right?
Yeah.
Like that speaks to the inconsistencies in Congress being able to get things done budget-wise, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. From a standpoint of when is the last time that Congress has actually passed a budget versus just running off of continuing resolutions? That's not the way we're supposed to be running. And we're going to have to start making difficult financial choices on both sides of the aisle. Everybody knows we can't keep spending what we're spending. Now we can grow our way out of it to a degree, but we've got a healthy economy, which is what I believe President Trump and Secretary Besson are wanting to do, is help us grow our way out of things. You look at what Elon was doing with Doge. They were definitely doing some great cuts that needed to happen. We're going to have to get our fiscal house in order up there, and we're going to have to make some tough choices. We shouldn't be running major deficits unless we're in a major war. And the next major war, unfortunately, we've got an adversary with China that's probably going to be something that we already see, economically we're fighting a war, and, that's something else we can talk about. But we've got to be able to get our house in order and start cutting the things that the federal government shouldn't be doing. Department of Education, other things, grants and things that really they don't tie into what the federal government should constitutionally do, and allow the states and the local governments to do things at their level that they feel like are what's going to benefit their constituency. But yeah, getting that budget in order, that's absolutely a priority. And unfortunately, that's one of the reasons that Congress polls at like 19% approval, because they just haven't gotten a budget put together to put on the president's desk. And I also realize, at a county council level, I can make 3 phone calls and we can make miracles happen. Up there, I can't make 3 phone calls and make miracles happen. It's going to be very different. So I'm going to work to try to make sure that I find the right people to be able to start getting to where we can have a budget that people can count on, that they can point to.
All right. Well, I'm going to give you your final pitch to voters in just a moment. But you're a family man. You got kids. You have a wife and everything. Before we get to your final pitch, I want to hear your best, or I guess worst, dad joke.
My best or worst dad joke?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I mean,
now you really did put me on the spot.
Dad joke, like they're all bad, right? But like, you know,
I'm completely adept at embarrassing the heck out of my daughters. I mean, Katie Jo came in Saturday, and I was just asking people, because she's home from fall break for Clemson, and I was like, how many of you love when your kids come home? Because it just made my weekend. But man, dad joke. Okay, I'm gonna have to. Can I come back to that? Because I want to think about it. Man, that one you put me really on the spot on.
My father has a terrible joke that I think is particularly good in a news setting, which is, have you heard about the new corduroy pillows? They're making headlines.
Oh, wow.
Which I just think is hilarious, personally.
Wow.
So
okay.
That's my favorite joke.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll come back to your dad joke potentially. Sure. But give us your final pitch to voters. What do they need to know about you? Yeah. Why should they vote for you?
I will be honest. This is a job that I really didn't want for a long time. I love the job I'm doing on Dorchester County Council. I mean, we're doing amazing things, building the parks, the libraries, and we've got more good stuff coming. Being in Congress the next 10 or 15 years, I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of fun about it. I think we're going to have to make very difficult choices, and you're going to have to make choices, and people are going to have to trust you. And after 14 and a half years on Dorchester County Council, passing 3 different referendums by a 2-to-1 margin, it's clear that our voters trust us. And I've been a leader on that trust issue. I'm going to go up there and try to make the tough choices and make sure we put Americans first, and make sure we put America first in everything that I'm thinking about doing. But also, I'm going to go up there and fight for the low country. We need to make sure that we are bringing resources back to our home, Charleston, Hilton Head, Dorchester, Berkeley, wherever we are. We need to be bringing those resources back to be able to build the infrastructure we need, to be able to protect the environment and conserve what we've got that keeps us beautiful. Those are the things I've already been doing at the local level. I'm going to just take that same exact work ethic up to the national level and try to make sure that we've got somebody up there that if our local leaders call and say, hey, we need help with this, you're not just getting lip service. This is a job that requires a result, not an appeasement. And I think the last 15 years on Dorchester County showed that that's exactly how I operate. I will continue doing the exact same thing.
All right. Results driven. Councilman Byars, thanks.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you having me.